How you doing?
Hey, Joe.
Nice to virtually meet.
Welcome to Bella in Your Business. My name is Bella Vastin. Today I've got something that you guys are going to get so excited for. I sure did. The very first time that I talked to Joe, we were on the phone for an hour, even though we only planned for 20 minutes. That's how awesome my next guest is, you guys. Joe owns Walker Scout. It's the only turnkey, customizable recruiting solution for the dog walking industry. Yes, you heard me right. Recruiting. It enables owners to delegate their entire recruiting process to an experienced but temporary hiring manager. Walker Scout can help maintain, improve, and grow your team. This gives owners the opportunity to grow their business rather than run their business. You guys, I really want you to lean into this episode. You might even listen to it twice. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's pretty incredible because when we talked a few weeks ago, I had mentioned that I watch the YouTube show often for tips. There was one show just recently that I really benefited from about virtual sales appointments. So to be on the show now is kind of surreal and it's an honor. So thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love that you reached out and you were like, hey, this is what I do. And you also have helped many of my clients, unbeknownst to me, and some of our mastermind members too. And so I was really impressed with what you've been able to do, but not only that, but the background in which that you have. So why don't we take a quick moment and just kind of give people your LinkedIn profile or your resume, if you will, so they know who this awesome brain is behind what we're about to do.
Sure. In a short summary, I worked as a dog walker for Windy City Dog Walkers in Chicago in 2008. I loved it. I love the job. Dog walking jobs are normally part-time, so I had a secret life. I think a lot of dog walkers have a secret second life, and mine was as a recruiter for an RPO, which is a company that does recruitment process outsourcing. So my department, I worked with a major airline, and I would recruit flight attendants and baggage handlers, and I really loved it. Eventually, I was promoted. I was very thankful to be promoted at Windy City Dog Walkers, and we started to implement some of the recruiting philosophies of my other employer over to Windy City. And I think it's because of that that we grew. When I first started in 2008, we had 5 people there. When I left in 2019, we had about 45 people there. And I think a lot of it is because of the strong emphasis on quality people and just casting the widest net possible to find your best dog walkers in your particular market. So we had a really great year in 2018, like the best year we ever thought possible. And when we had like kind of an informal, how did this happen meeting, we kind of determined it was because whenever someone was about to resign, we had someone great or even better to take their place. So we were hiring in advance. We were hiring before we even knew of the upcoming vacancy. And that was really what contributed to that great year.
I love what you just said so much, because the whole like not being held hostage in your own business. And this is something that you and I got really excited about when we kind of talked a couple of weeks ago, is really where it's at, you guys. I want you to think right now that if you had someone on your team that, you just really don't like, you don't want them working for you, or maybe you're just at all engines are firing right now and you just wish that poof, like this like magic, carpet could come in and dump the perfect person for you. Would that make you happy? Guys, like that can happen. You just have to strategize for something like that. And if it's not you, then it's someone like a Joe in your life. So Joe, let's take this to the next step and let's talk about how can we find more candidates and how can we find better candidates? Because we've all heard, you and I have heard many times, I know that, well, I can't just find anyone that can do it like I can do it. Or there's no good dog walkers out there. Nobody takes this seriously. Yep. And what they don't stop and realize is that they are the common denominator. So Joe, how do we find better candidates and more candidates?
I think just the way you did the role play right there with all those like those fake scenarios, you hit the nail on the head, because you really have to compare how you're advertising your positions, right? So how do you advertise if you advertise at all? If you have to really compare the tone of your advertisements against your competition. And I hate to say it, your friends across the street, across the bridge, whatever, they are your competition, even if you love them. And, look at the tone of your advertisements. I'm a big proponent that short, concise, positive advertisements will yield you the best results. If you have an advertisement that says, reliable dog walker wanted, all in caps, well, all this tells the applicant, the candidate potentially, is that you've hired unreliable people in the past, which alludes to poor management, poor decision-making. You really have to ask yourself, how do I want to be perceived by the job seeker? So that's going to help you find more candidates, those concise, short, positive ads, comparing them against your competition. A big hurdle, I think, for dog walking companies in particular, not daycares or trainers or any of those things, are the barriers of entry. So that's, I think, a term that I have maybe looked at, I've coined it or whatever, but if you're asking a dog walker to work weekends, holidays, evenings, maybe you're asking them to use their own vehicle, maybe you're not going to offer reimbursement. And then the big one is, if you're not going to hire them as an employee, but you're going to have them work as a contractor, well, each new twist you add to this post, this advertisement, you are removing that many people. If you need someone for evenings and weekends, maybe you really need to hire 2 people, one for evenings and one for weekends. And then ask yourself if your competition is asking as many things as you are. It's not just about the money. If your competition is asking less, that could be where all of your applications are going. And then another final tip on more candidates, just more, is if you have a platform like Jazz HR, run multiple ads and see which one, write the mean one, write the reliable dog walker wanted ad if you want to, write the hippie, happy-go-lucky one. See which one is yielding results and then stick to that one. That's what I would do for more applicants. I think, Bella, you also asked about better candidates, right?
Yep, keep going. You're just awesome. Keep going.
No, thank you. But better candidates. I'd rather have, better candidates than more. So the big thing is ask your team for referrals and offer them bonuses. Take the money that you would have put into advertising for a job and give them a bonus, I think that if they weren't great, would they really be part of your team? And A players want to work with A players. You don't want to have a B team, especially with animal care, because that's when things get real messy for your company. So, advertise on multiple boards, use social media. Social media advertising is free. You could use job boards. Some of them are free. Jazz HR makes it really easy to place ads. It just kind of filters to multiple job boards. And then if you need a boost to really find those amazing people, you might need to invest in some paid advertising. I'm also a big proponent for evaluating your Glassdoor and Indeed employee reviews. Some dog walking companies aren't even aware that their former employees are reviewing the company and the work experience online. So you might want to look into that. I offer a service that could help add reviews to your Indeed and Glassdoor profile, but those take more time than a consumer review by far. So if it's not part of your normal workflow now, I'd recommend that you make that in the future. Finally, I like to talk about, pardon me, what makes a company special, what makes a company unique. My friends at Sniff and Go here, they're the best private dog walking company in San Francisco because that's all they do. They don't do groups. So they work with all the misfits, right? I have friends in San Francisco at Top Dog San Francisco where they take their dogs in groups to these beautiful natural environments. So when you're talking about your company, talk about it with passion, talk about what makes you different. You don't want to be a race to the bottom. You don't want to say we're the cheapest company in town because that's just going to mean that the dog walker is making the least amount of money possible. You want to make it special. I think at Windy City, what we did was we created a culture of absolute professionalism. And we didn't have any goons working with us. I mean, everybody was held accountable. So I hope that gives greater insight on finding more candidates and better candidates.
There's so much goodness that you just said that I just kind of want to break down. You talked a lot about company culture, which I think comes from knowing your brand and your company. It's something I think a lot of people struggle with. And I always equate that to the awkward preteen ages where you're like, who am I? And you have these growing pains until you really come into your own. So you guys listeners, think about like who really is your company. I love that you dropped examples of Top Dog and Sniff and Go. They're both great companies in the Bay Area who, exactly like you said, you know, yeah, at the end of the day, your pet is taken care of, but the way in which each one of those companies do it is so drastically different. And something else that you touched on is, yeah, go ahead and do all those different ads, you know, but in my words, remember to make it sexy, and then have some sort of a way that you can see what converts. And that's where things like Jazz HR comes in. Guys, this is about data. It's about testing. It's about messaging. It sounds an awful lot like marketing for clients, doesn't it? Except it's actually marketing for employees. And that's what Joe gets. That's why Joe's successful in his position, because he's looking at it that way. So Joe, how can you improve a hiring process in a way that, I'm going to keep saying it, keeps the sexy in it and doesn't make people not want to continue on dating with the company? Because that's essentially what it is.
As a person who works in HR, I'm not going to say the S word, but I think you're right. You've got to make it, you've got to make it exciting. And you also said data. Boy, is data important. And you really have to make a standard system for your recruiting. If you're going to keep it internal, which you can if you want to, or I'm available if you'd like, but if you are going to keep it internal, you need to come up with standard questions that you're asking every applicant, a standard application system. Do not rely solely on intuition. You really need to make recruiting part of your daily to-do list, not even weekly or monthly, daily. And I just got off the phone with a wonderful client in an area that's really affected by COVID, and their volumes are very low right now, but they are also expecting many of their dog walkers to not return. And I said, my gosh, if that happens, when people start going back to work after Labor Day, which is what they're predicting for their particular market, I said, I will want ideally 1, 2, or maybe 3 weeks, because you're going to need a period to train and bring these people through an orientation. So you need to think 1 or 2 steps ahead. It's like chess. And so make it part of your active to-do every day. How are you recruiting that day? Are you looking at your advertisements? Are you conducting voice screens, face-to-face interviews, reviewing applications? How are you doing it? We already talked about formalizing the process with different phases. You got to do at least 2 to 3 different types of interviews. Voice screens, weed out all the weaker players. Face-to-face interviews really show you who your A players are going to be, right? And then you could do a field interview where you introduce someone to a dog. Look at the candidate's body language. Do they really want to work with dogs, or do they just want a job, right? Because usually dog walking doesn't pay minimum wage. It's a blue-collar job that pays above minimum wage. So it's very appetizing to a lot of people. I like to kind of ask questions. I love goofy questions in my interviews. Not like, what kind of dog would you be? But I like to evaluate a candidate's ability to succeed in my organization, not solely based on hands-on abilities. I'll ask them about their favorite job. You know, what was your favorite job ever, right? I was a caddy. I love golf. I love outside. I like walking. That's a good fit for dog walking, right? If you say, I would like being an accountant, well, I don't know if this is the right job for you, right? And I also like to ask, you know, who's your professional inspiration? If someone says, I don't really have one, I don't really know what I want to do, you know, is that someone you want to work with? Someone with little ambition. So, you know, don't focus on like, what would you do if a dog gets off leash? Try to ascertain if you could train this person what to do if they get off leash. That's more important than what their hands-on skills are that first day. They need to have patience, empathy, confidence, intelligence, independence. Independence is key, because dog walking is a really weird industry where you train people, you let them go, and then they self-manage potentially for years. It's the weirdest place.
Let me ask you something, because I don't want you to just brush over that. You said you want someone that you can train. I always say, and you probably heard this, the whole hire for attitude, train for skill. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think a lot of pet sitters and dog walkers get caught in that trap of, well, what would you do if you walked into a house and the dog was in distress? And like, it's like, that is not a good question, because
horrible.
No, take it away. Like, take it away. Like, please just dive a little deeper on that so that we can kind of expand the thought process on this.
Yeah, no, I think you are totally correct. I mean, you're looking for people who have shown that they could work in environments where they had exhibit patience and confidence, because animals appreciate both of those attributes, right? And then they need to be intelligent, because hopefully you're hiring employees, which means you could properly train them, right? And then finally, you're looking for people who have worked independently and maybe hopefully in caregiving positions in the past. So I'm not always looking for dog walkers. I'm looking for maybe a nanny or a stay-at-home parent or anyone who I know could take safety. Safety is so critical with dog walking because following the routine of locking the door, do you make sure it's locked? Little things. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little partial to flight attendants, probably because I hired so many in my past life. When I have a flight attendant apply now, it's someone I know I could trust because people don't realize it. That job is all about safety. It's not about slinging 7-Up, you know? So that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for the next
insight.
Expert dog walker. Yeah.
I love this insight so much. And this is hard for me, Joe, because I want to make this an hour-long episode because you're just that brilliant. And I love this. And I know this is going to be one of the most popular episodes that we have because it's so relevant and great. But speaking of relevance, we are currently in 2020 at this recording. Guys, if you're listening to this in the future, we made it. We made it. We are currently recording July 2020. This will be coming out probably around September 2020. But we're still in the throes of COVID. All right. And Joe, talk to me about the job market. You already kind of touched on it with like after Labor Day, people are going to probably want to start hiring again or whatever. We're at the end of July, the unemployment is about to, go away. I'm just going to give you the floor. Talk to me about hiring, things that we need to consider during 2020, because this is just its own beast.
Okay. Yeah. There's a few things that you need to do, I guess, as we emerge from our 2020 coronavirus cocoons. The app, you could say that you don't really need to worry about recruiting right now because the applications you're flooded with applications. Just remember that these people were not applying before coronavirus came. So when their industry starts to rehire again, they're probably going to leave with little notice. I think that these are the small teams that you could build right now to be a keystone for your future company culture. These people that you're going to be hiring now, they could be your future managers. So your next round of, you got to think big, right? So
I just got goosebumps, Joe.
Oh,
that
yeah.
insight is beautiful. Preach, keep going.
They're going to be building everything up from the ashes, right? So you'd like to think that these are some of the most important hires that you'll make in the company's history because we've never had a situation like this before. I think that, it's really important if you're going to keep this process internal, you've got to do professional and personal references. You've really got to do employment verifications, and you've got to absolutely run pre-employment background checks. Not doing those steps with any applicant. I don't care if they were the director of the zoo. You've got to run all of that stuff because it's like operating a business without insurance. You really got to do your homework with everybody. This is a reset button for the whole industry. So the smallest company in town can emerge the market leader if they make the right decisions now. So I think that this is a weird year of change. It's not what anybody wanted, but we're here. So you might as well take the opportunity to find the best people. If you're not recruiting, it's like the Red Sox and the Yankees. If the Yankees said, I'm not going to draft baseball players anymore, we know some people who want to play baseball. So the Red Sox, you guys could draft all the first round picks because we don't need them. That's what you do when you don't recruit. When you rely on referrals, that's what's happening. You're limiting the quantity of applicants. You're definitely limiting the quality of applicants. You've got to reach out beyond the borders of your network.
Or for the non-baseball fans, you got to keep watering the garden because when you have
when you
want the harvest, you have to have had put in the work so that you can have those tomatoes or those strawberries or whatever it is that you're growing. You can't just automatically expect for it to be there.
Yeah. Especially if your competition, if other businesses in your local market, if they're pushing hard to make their positions appealing to the job seeker, it's going to be very hard for you to attract, especially the quality people. So what you can really do, and what's cool is it's free and it's going to help you find clients too, is just run your business right. Try to get those Yelp and Google reviews up from the consumer perspective. Try and get those Indeed and Glassdoor reviews up from the employee perspective. I think that we have a mutual friend in Barketing Solutions. If you are a person or a company that's employing Barketing Solutions for your website, please have them build a hiring portal for you You don't want people searching, how do I apply for a job with this company? Yeah, ask her to build a hiring portal. And you can actually, if you're a Jazz HR user, you can integrate that portal all on your website. It's going to look beautiful. It's going to be really easy.
I just love that you talk my language.
You know what, it's funny is that we didn't know each other really until about 2 weeks ago, and we've been living secret lives, enjoying the same vendors, having the same friends. So it's really about being open to anything. Think outside the box. Referrals are free. Social media is free. Many job board posts are free. You can even put flyers up that's essentially free that could look for clients and for candidates. Talk to your local animal rescues. Talk to your local colleges. I really like, I'm not going to lie, I love it when I have 2 Walker Scout clients in the same market. I could create a talent exchange. An applicant for one company might not be a great fit, but it might be a diamond for the other company. So make some friends, create a talent exchange. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what you're saying is you don't have to just refer clients. You could refer workers to another company as well.
They're worth 20 times a client.
Oh, of course they are. Yeah. Joe, you're amazing. So you say you're this recruiter and everything. So how does one work with you? What does that look like? What does it look like?
Sure. It's kind of like the old 60s Batman, where Commissioner Gordon would call Batman up and say, the Joker's out and he's tearing up the town. You call me up, you tell me what you want, and how many people we need, what neighborhood is it going to be in, what kind of dogs are they, what's your position like? I'd like to know everything about your company, because if I'm going to be representing your company, I need to know it backwards and forwards. But really, it's just as soon as you think you might need someone, especially if we're getting down to like 3 weeks before, just give me a holler, website, email, call. I'm still learning what social media is, but Bella, you've inspired me. We'll see what happens next. But I essentially learn everything I can about the position in the company, and then we go to recruit. And then what I'll do is I'll essentially let you know about every qualified candidate. I'll rank them. I'll show pros and cons. You'll get transcripts of interviews, and you'll get obviously a copy of your resume. And I'll tell you who I would hire first. But you don't have to hire who I hire. I've had a lot of discussions, and it works out either way. But often people will hire my first pick, and it usually yields the best results.
Amazing. And how does I'm gonna just be frank and ask you, because the offer that you're offering our listeners is 50% off your standard commission rate for the first dog walker selected with Walker Scout. So typically, and you don't have to necessarily say prices or whatever, but how does this work? Do we pay you by hour? Do we pay you by person you hire? Do we pay you by how much they make? Like how does that structure work?
Yeah, no, that's a very valid question. I want to be as transparent as possible so people know, because this is a really weird foreign concept for the world of dog walking and small business. So I want someone to know what their maximum exposure will be. So I have it set up so I'm paid based on a walker's gross wages, not their tips, not their reimbursements. If they're getting referral bonuses and holiday gifts and stuff like that, I'm not reimbursed. I'm not compensated based off those amounts. I only want to be compensated based on the gross wages they've made, because that tells me that they're earning money for the company. They're generating revenue for the company. So normally I charge 15% on a walker's gross wages over the course of 6 months, 26 weeks in 6 payments, right? You kind of pay as you go. And for your community, the mastermind community, I am going to be reducing that rate to 12.5%. So that's already, a little bit of a discount. But I know this is a weird concept. I'm convinced that once you try it once you pop, you can't stop. So that first candidate will be recruited at a rate of 6.25%. So you'll only be paying 6.25% of what a walker's gross wages were over the course of 6 months, 26 weeks. That's what you'd pay for that first person. And after that, it'll go to 12.5%. And the classic question is, what if my dog walker, gets a job at NASA and flies to the moon and they resign after 4 months? You don't need to worry about the work they don't perform. You only pay for their 6 months or less. Ideally, they're going to be with you for years, but you'll only be paying for those first 6 months. And you only really going to be paying when they work. So if they get married and they're gone for a big honeymoon and they're gone for a month, then you don't need to worry about paying anything that month, because it's only about when they generate revenue for you that's what I want to be compensated.
That's amazing. And what's your website so they can check you out?
Sure. It's walkerscout.com.
Mm-hmm. And you guys, if you follow my 30-30-40 method, I mean, this goes very well into it, because you have your labor cost and then like this extra, you know, the commission rate that you're going to pay Joe to help take this burden off of you so that you can focus on growing your company and not on the thing that just stalls you out or plateaus you out because you're not good at it, you don't like it, you get depressed, you don't have the time for it. That little 6% comes from that 30% bucket, essentially. If you guys are following me and have taken the pricing, structure, and strategy course, that's a legit business expense. And I don't even want to call it an expense. I want to call it investment, because that 6% could help grow your business 30% legit, because every employee is worth a certain dollar amount, a certain revenue to your company. Okay. So guys, I encourage you to reach out to him, have a conversation, see if this makes sense for you. In the show notes, we're also going to have how you can schedule a meeting with Joe. I fully endorse him. I think he's amazing. And he also understands the industry. He's not some corporate recruiter from Robert Half trying to come in here and like he literally understands it from every aspect. And I love that you get it. I love that you get it, because quite honestly, you know, people were asking me to do this for them. I did it for one person back in January and I hated every minute of it. So I'm so glad that you're here to do that, because I'm going to stay in my lane, my friend. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention that we now have a pet care team training you guys out. You might want to check that out too if you are involved in this whole hiring ecosystem. We'll put that in the show notes. It's a video training system for all of your employees, along with Jazz HR to get them in the funnel, which Joe actually mentioned as well. So all together, you know, if you guys are feeling the pain of, I don't have the right team, my team is too lean right now, I don't like the people on my team, or we're just growing like gangbusters, guys, it's time to step it up and use the resources that I'm putting right here in front of you. Call Joe, have a conversation with him, and help take care of all this. And I never hard sell, and I don't mean to sound that way, but you're an anomaly in this industry. There's no one else that does what you do. And you heard it here first on Bella in Your Business. Joe, get ready. You're going to get a lot of inquiries. Any final words or final thoughts or places you want to point people?
You know, I think we touched on the importance of running pre-employment screenings. If you're never going to call me, if you're never going to recruit the way I would recruit, the only thing I would ask is that you run those. And just remember it's like marketing. I mean, you're a person who definitely understands marketing, Bella. Marketing, you can go full throttle with every platform and every channel. It doesn't just happen overnight. You need to be consistent, be patient. You know, I'd like to paraphrase like this silly poem where it goes, you know, I think it goes, tough times don't last. No, I'm sorry. I'm miswording this. It's basically that you need to be persistent. And it's
I think you were right. I think it's tough times don't last, tough people do. Is that what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're on the right track.
That hard work pays off.
Yeah.
Dreams come true.
Oh yeah.
Tough times don't last, but tough companies do. Yeah. This is everyone's opportunity to be tough. Don't give up. Just ride it out. We don't know when it's over, but it's going to be over at some point. Mm-hmm. And as long as you can find these gems, these diamonds that are out there that want to work for your company, you know, no one is going to be a better advocate for your company than a motivated employee. So find them. They will yield greater results than, you know, any advertising campaign ever, because they're going to be very passionate about your business if they're the right person.
This is getting me so excited, because
we should go out and walk a dog. We're so excited.
Even though it is a volatile time, you guys, there are companies that are buying and selling right now, and that are going to be. There are going to be employees that are losing their jobs that want to still work with dogs. They're just like Joe said, this is the time to build that hardcore internal team that could build your business to the longer. If you can just hold on and you can use this time, this gift that you will never be given, knock on wood, ever again in our lifetime. If you can be wise with this right now and rise above and work when you don't feel like it and make the tough decisions that other people are afraid to make right now, you, my friend, could be so far on top. Just like what Joe was saying, you could be the smallest company right now, but you could be positioned to pivot your business to achieve any kind of dream that you want right now. Guys, now's the time. Now's the time to get it together and stop all of the excuses. Joe, thank you so much for being on this podcast. You guys,
It was an absolute pleasure.
I want you guys to find where you saw this. I want you to tell us what your biggest takeaway was. Joe needs to know that his time spent here was good, and it wasn't just a waste of time. I would be humbled and honored if you would go ahead and rate us, give us 5 stars, share it out with all of your friends and family. By this point, when it comes out, we are over 100,000 downloads and over 200 episodes. So thank you guys for listening and going along with the journey. And remember that when life gets you down, always keep jumping.